Hello, everybody. I apologize for being late. I've been on another channel that I have, and I have that for my online marketing students, and I was live there and didn't realize I was on the wrong channel. So if you can see this, please give me a thumbs up and just mention in the chat what state you're from. My sincere apologies. I was on the wrong channel, and we were having a great conversation, but I was talking to myself basically. So let's see if I can get back to answering a question. And from somebody had posted, yeah, okay, so now I see that that's working. Excellent. Somebody had posted a question from last week, and I was answering that. But while I'm answering this question, if you just go ahead and just let us know where you're from. Well, I see Tony here, and Jay and Mac, and Tony's in here twice saying hi. And Mac is from Maine. Excellent. And Patton Family Camp Out says that they're first. Yes, you are. And you're from Basalt, Idaho. No way. That's just literally down the street from me. John Cochran. Welcome, John. Good to see you. You're from Texas. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. This really is for you. It's open forum. I'm here to answer any of your compelling questions on preparedness, whether that is fertilizers, seeds, how to take the fertilizers and seeds and grow food, the geothermal. We've got, I don't know how you, Matt Konik from Slovenia. Whether it's how to protect your family, security systems, how to live off grid, solar, all the things that I'm doing here on our homestead. I am wearing my Quail Farmer t-shirt that my kids gave to me for Christmas. I'm not going to try to read it backwards, but it's something about quail farming. But that was very nice. And I also have some quail eggs to show you. I picked up from the quail this morning, so those are fun. People came by yesterday and picked up some quail eggs. They came by to pick up 30 quail eggs, and they had some friends with them. They ended up leaving with 120 quail eggs. They were all very, very excited about having quail eggs. So I see people here from, Joe Noon Ying, I apologize for mispronouncing names, is from South Korea, or is South Korean. We've got Nevada Bill from Nevada. Granny Lana is from Utah. So thank you very much for joining me. Whether we continue these or not is really up to you. If you have questions, it is snowing, or has snowed outside today, so I decided not to go outside. I decided not to do this on my phone because last time I did this earlier this week to announce this live, I couldn't read the questions because it was I was in the greenhouse. My glasses went dark because of the sun, and the text was so small it was hard for me to read. Brent Parks, good to see you here, also from Utah. So if you have questions about water filtration, EMPs, off-grid solar, any of those kind of questions, feel free to post those in the group. So I really don't have anything on the agenda. This meeting is totally for you, and I'm here to answer your questions. I'm getting a lot of people ordering the premium micronutrient mixes from LDS Prepper store right now. Some of you have figured this out. You guys are pretty smart shoppers, because when you order 8 packages of these, and this is a double pack, it has 2 10-ounce packs. So when you order 8 of these packages, you get free shipping. And so I just filled an order yesterday for 16 packages, and they got totally free shipping. I carried the cost of the shipping for them, and they got a great deal. I also have ordered 8 cases of the Mittleider Gardening Course book. And every book that I send out, I personally autograph. And I don't know if that means anything to you, but I made that commitment last year. And so I take the time as I'm filling the order right then to put a personal note in there for you. And kind of my way of thanking you for supporting this channel and supporting our efforts. I have spent, let's say it, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more than that, in doing things and learning things. And I figure I'd rather spend my money, my time, and go through the learning experience and share what I have learned to you guys and help you shortcut your experience. Had several people last week or earlier this week come over to the greenhouse who want to build local greenhouses. Oh, looks like the sun is coming out. I'm just going to give you see if I can give you a view out the window here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see anything. No, you're just going to see sun. But I always like to see the sun because that means I'm making power and selling power back to the grid. We have increased the solar power here from 5 kilowatts to 16 kilowatts because we've increased our demand here on the property. But anyway, we have people come over to the greenhouse all the time. I always know whether they're really building a greenhouse because they keep coming back or they keep calling me. And I have people who call me from around the world who are building a geothermal greenhouse, and that's great. If you want to get a hold of me, if you have questions, and let me just kind of help you out there. If you have questions on water filters or preparedness items, and you've done your research and you have questions, and so don't call me up and say, how does the pointy end of the seed go into the dirt? I'm going to ask you, what page did you read in the book? So make sure you're doing your homework before you call me. But my phone number is on my store, ldsprepperstore.com, and I put it there so I'm available to help people with their preparedness items. So if you have a question and you've done your research and you're still looking for some clarification, I'm glad to help you. Now, I get a lot of phone calls every day. And so when you call, I may not be able to take your call at that moment. So hopefully I'll call you back if I don't get lost in the stream of calls, or you can just call me back an hour or two later. At any rate, you can see my Berkey here behind me. This, I should probably tell you, I mentioned earlier this week, that due to the supply shortage of high quality stainless steel, Berkey only releases systems every 2 weeks. That will happen Monday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time is when I am online and frantically entering my customers' orders because they usually sell out worldwide within 45 minutes. So if you are interested in getting a Berkey system, I would recommend you go over there and get in the front of the line right now, because they're filled first in, first out, and all those orders worldwide will be gone in probably less than 40 minutes this coming Monday. So that's ldsprepperstore.com. I already have all the lowest pricing there. You don't have to worry about any coupon codes. I can only ship to the United States, so I can't ship internationally. So go there and get your order placed, and I'll make sure you get a Berkey system. But they are getting very, very difficult to get. They don't have the entire line. They don't have the stainless steel spigot that you can see with the water level anymore because of putting that stainless steel into the systems. Right now they have the Big Berkey and the Royal. I really like the Royal. It's $33 more, I think, than the Big, and it holds an extra gallon. So 3.5 gallons instead of 2.5 gallons. I think that's a good deal. What we do is we run, my wife and I here, we run 2 filters in our Berkey, but we have 2 more that we have on the shelf that as a backup. So if, for example, the grandkids knock this off and breaks the filters, or we need new filters, we have them on the shelf. They have an endless shelf life, even once they've been used. Unlike other filters, I don't sell any other filter because this is the only filter that I will trust my life on and my family's life on, because it does have an endless shelf life. Of course, it's going to be used up in a certain amount of time, but it costs me 2 cents per gallon to filter the water, and that takes out all the pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, Pharmaceuticals, if you're on city water, you're drinking somebody else's pharmaceuticals that get flushed down the drain. But anyway, you can go over to LDS Prepper store and grab that. So enough with the chatter. I just want to give people a chance to start asking some questions here. Let's see. Where do you recommend buying greenhouse plastic? That's an excellent question. That's from Ports Osman. I would shop around. If you can buy it locally, then you're going to save on shipping. But I usually will get 3 or 4 prices online and then go all the way through the cart to see what the total destination price is, including tax and shipping, because shipping can actually be more expensive than tax. What you want to do, so just go on your favorite browser, DuckDuckGo, whatever it may be, and type in greenhouse plastic, and you'll get several providers popping up. Then you usually buy it by the square foot. You're going to want to get 4-year warranty, 6 mil UV protected greenhouse plastic. Do not use the Visqueen you get at Home Depot or Lowe's or the big box stores, because you will lose your crop when that breaks. We had that happen. A garden here locally was growing up just a whole bunch of seedlings. All the seedlings had sprouted. They had a big windstorm in the winter, early spring, and broke the Visqueen plastic, which froze the plants that night. So that all the work that they had put in was gone because they were trying to save a few pennies on plastic. My plastic has been up for 6 years. I'll probably replace it next year, if not this year. And I bought it online. So just go to your favorite browser and do the search. They do have different types, and they have a no drip or no condensation film. I've always just used the basic greenhouse plastic, and that has worked for me. I do double layer. Double layer will last longer, because when the wind hits and you start getting a lot of movement, it's like punching a pillow, and it absorbs that energy. And so I have seen my 2-layer inflated greenhouse plastic last substantially longer than single layer. So yeah, you'll be able to find that online. Battery backup on solar, what do you think? Good question, Mac. My sole purpose on having solar is to have power when there isn't power available from the grid. So I'm 100% into battery backup. I have an off-grid system that's grid tied. So right now, I'm pretty sure right now, I am already selling power to the grid. So we bought our first system. It was a $30,000 system. It was 5.2K. We get 9% of that. 30%. We got $9,000 back from the IRS, from a federal program they had. They still have that going. Then we got a $20,000 state tax reduction. So they took $20,000 off of my annual income, $5,000 each year for 4 years. So, and then we paid off that system in 3.5 years. Was it 3.5 years that you paid off the solar? 3.5 years. Yep. So best investment, best improvement on the property, I would say that, and putting a hand pump on my well was very important too. So the greenhouses, the solar, and the well have been great improvements. So every state that I know of has a federal incentive for a solar system. Most of the people are sold on solar to reduce their cost for electricity, which will continue to go up. I haven't had to pay electric bill for going on 6 years, other than when we were having our solar expanded and it was off, and we were offline. So, but I'm locked in. I'm grandfathered in at a flat rate. So I highly recommend it. As far as batteries go, I would recommend the Simplify brand batteries. There are a lot of batteries out there, and there are battery banks out there that you can get, but the Simplify brand, if you guys have been watching my channel, you know my core principle is ROI, return on investment, whether that's time or money or effort or whatever it is. I need to have a good return on that investment. So I don't really care if a Berkey costs $5,000, if at the end of that, I'm only paying 2 cents. They don't cost $5,000. But if they, at the end of it, I'm only paying 2 cents a gallon, 2 cents a gallon to filter that water. I'd much rather pay a higher price up front and then get a much lower cost per use through the life of that system. Same thing with batteries. The lithium iron phosphate batteries you can get from Simplify, and I'm not a dealer, you just go and find them online, gets 10,000 cycles. 10,000 cycles. And I was just comparing this with my son, Ben, 2 days ago. And matter of fact, if you're looking for a portable off-grid system, go to ldsprepperstore.com and click on portable off-grid system, and I'll take you, there's a link there, it takes you to a very comprehensive, broad, side-by-side comparison on portable solar generators. So we were talking about batteries, and there's lithium iron, there's lithium, all kinds of different lithiums, but this particular brand has 10,000 cycles compared to another lithium battery that has 2,000 cycles. Well, a cycle is basically a day. So 10,000 days versus 2,000 days. And a cycle is when you drain the battery down and it recharges. So it's much less expensive to buy a battery that's going to last longer and has healthier, better quality components, A-grade components versus B or C-grade components, because it has, you can depend on it more. So 10,000 cycles is like 27 years or something like that. So people, I'm sure people will say, well, I don't need it for 27 years. Well, that's up to you. But if you had to replace those batteries with the cheaper lithium batteries, it costs you triple the price. So just look at the ROI all the way through, cost per cycles and how many cycles and so forth. Okay, are you stocking up foods? Good question, Deanne. My wife has always been awesome in food storage, and we have food storage for our family. That is my wife and me. I feel that it's my stewardship as a provider and protector to do just that, and that is to provide and protect my family, which is my wife right now, because my sons and my daughter are providing and protecting their own families. So it's no longer my stewardship. They don't live under my roof anymore to feed them and clothe them and protect them, even though we work closely and talk about that with each other. So I have food storage for my wife and me. And with what I see coming down the road right now, I think it's very, very, very important that everybody have some long-term food storage. And it's very simple to get. It's very simple to prepare. It gets back to where you take ingredients and you mix them together and you make bread and you make, a soup, instead of just buying it in a box and adding water for the soup. So because you're buying ingredients instead of prepackaged, completely processed food type products, it's going to be a lot less expensive. Matter of fact, one of the things that we have is we have all of our long-term food storage in number 10 cans. And on my LDS Prepper store, I have one number 10 canning machine left. It's a portable one. It's $1,895. It does not show up on my store. I unfortunately, I have one left. We sold out of all of them that we had. We have one. And if you're interested, text me at 208-360-5384. The phone number is on my store if you want to buy that today, because it's going to be gone before this evening. I have one of those, and then we also have cans available, and so I will get you in touch with my canning specialist, and they'll make all the arrangements for you. So you cannot purchase it online because I took it off the store because I just had one. But you can go ahead and just text me if you want a portable canning machine. So if you want to see what that canning machine looks like, just do a search on my YouTube channel here for can sealer or canning machine or something like that, and you'll find that. So long-term food storage, extremely important. Do I feel a 30-day food storage is sufficient? No, not at all. Do I feel like a 90-day food storage is sufficient? No, not at all. Do I feel one season of fertilizer is sufficient? No, not at all. Some of you may know that last year I bought a ton, 2,000 pounds of 19, and I shared that with my neighbors. They came over and bought it at my same cost because I want all my neighbors to have fertilizer. Fertilizer is going to be very difficult and very expensive to get this year. As I was buying all the ingredients, and these ingredients are very, very expensive. And you notice how fine this is? I buy the highest quality available of the nutrients, and they are very fine, which means that the plant can assimilate them much easier than larger crystals. So at any rate, when I bought these and I got my pallets of minerals, I noticed that almost all of them were from out of country, out of the United States. So that it was a concern, and I placed a order for 1,000 pounds of nutrients that I mixed up into the packages. And then I think 4 weeks later, I placed another order for 2,000 pounds. And that order, even 4 weeks later, last year, every single item on that price list had gone up. Every one of those. And that was a year ago. So I bought really in anticipation for this year, and we are ready to go. We're shipping a lot right now, but I have no idea when I have to place an order again what that is going to cost. I know for sure it's going to be more expensive, and so my pricing will probably be changing here in the next few weeks or few months when I have to restock that for you. So we definitely want to keep that on hand. I keep at least a 4-year supply of all fertilizers, the NPK, the micronutrients, the Epsom salts, the gypsum in my area for calcium for my garden. I also carry millions of seeds. I have millions of seeds in my food storage. Seeds are going to be very difficult. We've already, we're getting the catalogs in right now. The seed catalogs the seeds are much more expensive. Locally, they're very difficult to get. I need to turn that off. So I would recommend, if you're looking for some good seeds, to go to LDS Prepper store and get some seeds there. Those are heirloom seeds. They're the only ones I recommend. You can tell if you get a good seed if it comes in a sealed container in a plastic bag with the information of the seed on the package. If you're getting seeds in paper bags, you're probably not getting the highest quality seeds. So stocking up on food. Does your book cover growing in clay? Oh, that's a great question, Granny Lanny. When I was in Texas, caliche clay is what our soil was. It was, when it gets wet, it's like slime. It's awful. So yes, we have grown very successfully in clay, in sand, in really all kinds of soils other than soils that have heavy amounts of salts. So we would not be growing in the Great Salt Lake area that has a high salinity in the soil. So the soil doesn't make any difference. Even when I moved here and I tilled the soil here and got it ready, and we were planting in the dirt. I'm basically a river bottom wash off is where my property is. The river used to be up to my property here. Now with the dams, it's not. But it was very, very clayish. And actually, when and this is when I built the soil beds, and I'd water them, and then the water would go through the soil, and then the soil would crack, which is really, really bad because it tears up your roots. It creates air getting down to the roots, so it causes the roots to stop from growing there. It's called air pruning. And so what I did is in the book, it said to add some sand to the clay. So I just took some of the concrete sand that I had, and I put it in a little can, and I just sprinkled it through all the cracks that happened as the soil dried out. I did that, I think, twice, and problem solved. I did not bring in bucket loads or truck loads or wheelbarrow loads of sand. I just put the sand in where the cracks were. Did that a couple times, and you'll do that at the beginning of each season as you start with a new bed, and they'll take care of the problem. So I have successfully grown in very nasty clay, caliche clay in Texas, and kind of silt clay here in Idaho. Let's see what we have here for some more questions. How much is your solar production on cloudy weather? Now, I wish I could show you my screenshot because I actually monitor my solar production all day long. It's up on my computer screen in one of my browser tabs, and I can see what's going on. So it is overcast. The sun is coming through from the south. I'm going to switch screens and see if I can't. I'll bring up my solar right now. I obviously you're not going to be able to see it, but I can tell you what we're producing right now. So we're producing 1.46 kilowatts of power, and our load is 1.4 kilowatts. Now, the majority of that load, I can tell you for sure, is the greenhouses, or primarily the greenhouse, because I've got a dehumidifier and the geothermal fans blowing. So that's probably easily 1,000 watts happening over there right now, because the dehumidifiers, the dehumidifier itself could be 1,000 watts or 1,500 watts. So on a cloudy day, it's kind of a hard question to answer, but it's less than on a sunny day. So I have my panels set up. When I expanded my panels, my first array was set due south. It's a ground mount. And then I was interested in getting electricity earlier in the morning and later in the evening. So I have 18 panels facing east and 18 panels facing west, in addition to the 21 panels I have facing south. So, and my panels on let me just go check right now. My panels, okay, now we are selling, I guess the clouds moved. We are now generating 4.67 kilowatts. We're selling 2.3 kilowatts back to the grid, and our load is 1.8 kilowatts. So we're producing more than 2 times than what we are using right now. So I'm just going to go to my charge controllers, and yes. So yes, the panels that are facing east right now are making more power than the panels facing south right now, which is cool. I could have had them all face south, and that probably would have been just as good or better. I don't know because I didn't do it. But my thinking was earlier power in the morning, later power in the evening. We got plenty of power during the main part of the day. I just wanted to extend that power production period. Nevada Bill, I'm going to build a high tunnel like yours. Very good. Waiting on the USDA before I can start. Would it be all right to mix rock and soil to maintain heat? Excellent question, Nevada Bill. I would not mix rock and soil. I would not bring in rock again. It was $3,000 more for me to build the same geothermal, basically below ground, same length of pipe, than without the rock. So I think the best return on investment is just to use the soil geothermal. I would go down 3.5 feet deep, either in a 6-inch wide trench. Let's just talk about that. Do a 6-inch wide trench, go down 3.5 feet deep. I would put down my perforated 4-inch drain pipe, and I would put on. I'd fill that up to 12 inches, and I would pack that down. I'd get in there with you can go down to a big box store and buy a metal tamper, put it on a pole, and you tamp that down. It's very important to tamp that down, especially around the sides, to build some strength around the pipes. Otherwise, when you put all the rest of the dirt on, it's going to crush the pipes. Then I would, once I have 12 inches above that, I would bring that pipe and I would bring it back around and come up on the next level, add another 12 inches on top of that, tamp that down, especially on the side of the pipes. Then come up the third time, coming back out. So I'm coming in from this side and going out on that side, tamped it all down. So now that's 3 feet basically of soil. I want to be 6 inches above grade. So I'd fill in all the dirt from 3.5 feet and then add another 6 inches of dirt. I've had my original greenhouse underwater, 6 inches underwater, and my new greenhouse, in which I built 6 inches above grade, above water. It's never flooded in the new greenhouse. So that's one way you can do it. You want to get, my recommendation is 15% of the total cubic space of the greenhouse. So the length times the height times the width, take 15% of that, and that's the length of pipe that you want to use. We've always been able to put out that much pipe into the soil. So you can build trenches and put the pipe in. I have some detailed videos comparing the rock and the soil, but there is no, you can't mix the two techniques because they won't work together. You can't have a steam engine and a gas engine running at the same time. It doesn't work. So either you're going to use rock and you're going to heat up that rock, and that's what, you're creating a mass of heat and storing it, or you're going to use the heat of the soil, but not both. So I would just put the pipes in the soil like I recommended, or you can completely trench out the whole area, put in a third of your pipe on the bottom area, put 12 inches of soil on top of that, put a third of your pipe, serpentine it back and forth, have it come in, serpentine back and forth, and you have it come out. And so you're having all these pipes come out, and then another layer, put your pipes there. That way you get all your pipes in. When you want to have as much soil in between the pipes as possible, because the way it works is by thermal transfer. It's going to transfer the temperature of the soil, which is dense. It's going to hold the heat, and it's going to transfer it to the air as it passes through the pipes. So you don't want the pipes on top of each other, next to each other. You want as much soil in between the pipes as possible. If you saw last week or earlier this week, or if you haven't, go check the video, my last video. I've got ripe tomatoes in the greenhouse. I've got kale. My wife has kale and Swiss chard. Is it Swiss chard, honey? Swiss chard. I've got carrots. I've got peas, broccoli, red potatoes, strawberries, all growing through winter in the geothermal, in the dirt geothermal. So that's what I would recommend. And for more details on that, check out my videos under the geothermal section of my YouTube channel. So congratulations on building the geothermal. That's excellent. And working with the USDA was really easy for me. I didn't understand all the verbiage. I talked to them, and they helped me understand the contract. But I have a great person here at the USDA, and it was a good experience for me. I highly recommend it. You do need to buy a kit. You cannot build your own kit. You have to buy a professionally built kit for the USDA program. For those who are not familiar with that, it's called the USDA High Tunnel Initiative Packet. That's what you want to call your local county USDA extension and say, I'd like to talk to somebody about the High Tunnel Initiative Packet. Here in Idaho, in my county, we had to have the packet submitted before Thanksgiving, and we knew if we were approved or not by early April the next year. Build hog traps and feed families that don't have anything to eat. Yeah, I guess if you're in Texas or Hawaii or Florida where you have hogs, that would be awesome. My approach, TJ, is to teach somebody to build hog traps so they can feed their own family. Again, I'm more than glad to help. The way that I help is by helping people get prepared before the emergency instead of trying to scramble when there's an emergency. So it's my neighbor's responsibility and stewardship to feed his own family. It's not mine. So I am helping them as much as I can and as much as they want to get prepared with self-defense, with security, with building greenhouses, with solar, with food storage, with water filtration. I mean, I don't care if you got a house full of $1 million worth of food. If you're drinking dirty water, you're dying. Okay, more people die from tainted water than anything else on the planet. That is the #1 killer on the planet is dirty water. So I have had Giardia, and I tell you what, it is the double dragon. I have never been that sick. I don't want to get graphic, but you want to make sure you have clean water. That's why I only recommend the Berkey. So yes, if you can build hog traps or whatever it is that you can do and help your neighbors do the same thing, that's awesome. None of my neighbors had solar when I moved here. None of my neighbors had greenhouses when I moved here. Now, many of my neighbors have solar and greenhouses and food storage, and we are a community. We hold community neighborhood emergency preparedness meetings together. Right now we're doing them on Zoom. So we know of each other's approach, the attitude. One of my neighbors has some big heavy equipment. He's offered to let us use that. I'm offering my time and effort to help them build a garden. Whatever it is that we can do to help each other, absolutely do that and do it now. So when food shortages come or difficult times come, that you already have a garden, you already have the skill, and you are in production mode instead of panic mode. Okay, can you use corrugated panels instead of plastic? Patrick, I'm assuming you're talking about the greenhouse material. Yes, absolutely. Do whatever you need to do to be able to extend your gardening season. The corrugated panels will not last very long. People who have corrugated panels, I've seen a lot of these. They typically last 1 or 2 years and they get brittle and they just start cracking and getting holes in them. They're very, very brittle. They're not UV protected and they turn yellow. So to me, that is not a good return on investment. And also if there's a hailstorm, they're gone, okay? So I've had people build here in Idaho in the garden greenhouses with a single layer of plastic, and those have not lasted because of the hailstorm and the winds. Those who have built double-walled greenhouses that are inflated that can take the impact of the wind and the hail have lasted. So whatever works, but yes, corrugated plastic would work. It's only probably going to be a single layer. So generally at night, the temperature in the greenhouse is going to be the same temperature outside. So some things to consider. Just depends on where you are. You know, if you don't have winters like we have here, then that may be perfectly fine for you. I use fish carcasses to make fertilizer for the gardens. Yeah, you may have to get really creative if you don't have a completely balanced food source for your plants, so fertilizer. You may have to get creative in creating fertilizer. So I'd recommend having that on hand, and having the fish carcasses is a great idea for plan B or C. Let's see. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for your thoughts. You're welcome. Let's see. And will make a man more precious than the gold wedge of, yeah, that's having food, I think. Call it a good battery. What protein do you store? Well, I'm sure, I'd have to ask my wife. I did get my first elk this year. So we bought a chest freezer, and we have a very nice size elk in the chest freezer. I don't eat a lot of protein. Most of my protein comes from the potatoes I eat. I think we way too much protein in our diets. It's not healthy for us. So I'm sure we have some. I've seen our bottled chicken, and I know we have the elk in the freezer. Of course, the reason why we have it in the freezer is so we have solar power. If I didn't have solar power, I would be very concerned about the grid going out, as I did in Texas for 14 days. And my neighbors all around me lost all of their food and all of their meat in their refrigerators and freezers. Not a pleasant smell. Honey, a question is, what protein do we have in our food storage? I know you've bottled chicken. Do we have anything else as far as protein? We have the elk. You bought a beef, right? You bought like a quarter beef or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have elk. We have tuna fish.
Tuna fish. Yeah, tuna fish.
Canned beef.
Canned beef. We've had it.
Beef, canned chicken.
Okay. Canned beef, canned chicken, and bottled chicken. I remember you put the chicken. You used it up. That bottled chicken is awesome. It's really, really, really good. Did you put some flavoring in the chicken when you bottled it? Did you put any spices, or was that
just a little bit of salt?
A little bit. Oh, it was so good, so good, so good. Yeah, bottled chicken. It's already cooked. It's in water. I think when she used it, she just opened up the can, put it in the soup, and it was just amazing. Yeah. So that's what we're doing for protein. Let's see. Cornish meat and egg birds. You raise those. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I raise the quail, as you know.
We have chickens for eggs.
And we have chickens for live chickens here, and quail for production. Good to see you. Good to see you. How can we get weekly feed in Canada? So there is a weight limit. You can go to ldsprepperstore.com, but there is a weight limit that I have, that we all have when we ship to Canada. And so I can only ship so much to Canada. If you can get the minerals in Canada and mix it yourself and then sell it, that'd be great in Canada. Because when you ship from the United States to Canada or any other, you get the tax, and then you have the shipping and the weight limitation. So I am shipping to Canada. You can place that order for that. If you can get the materials that are listed in the book, the complete recipes in the book, then you'll be able to get a much better price. So feel free to order for Canada. It's like Comrade Radio Preppers checking in. Daniel, love the time manna came from heaven. Thank you. Hate the time when the folks hated and food from heaven. Yeah, so I don't know if what you're referring to. Maybe the Israel's when they left Egypt, they ate manna and they ate quail. Let's see. Good to be prepared. Devil's in the details. The devil is in the details. The devil is in the actual physical doing of the project, so you have that experience. My wife always said every gardening season is a new season to learn. She said it better than that, but basically that you're gonna get better every year you garden. All right, you would be surprised at how well fish carcasses work for fertilizer and garden. I'm sure that'd be great. I like the story about how the slaves leaving Egypt plundered Egypt. Okay, let's see. I'm not into plundering. Solar Drew, everyone help me out. Okay, somebody's promoting their own channel there. Real life, hit the like button. Yes, thank you. If you'd hit the like button, I'd really appreciate that a lot, because that helps the algorithm for other people who are looking for preparedness items. How does subwater affect geothermal? Subwater here where I live is 3 feet. Should I use non-perforated pipe? Great question, Donald. We have been very successful with non-perforated, in other words, solid wall corrugated pipe, drain pipe. And in high flood, people that have a high water table. So what generally happens if you can do this is you want to if it's possible, usually the water table fluctuates during the year. So in winter, it's going to be the lowest. In summer, it's going to be higher. And so if you can put in that solid pipe without the water being a problem when you're putting the pipe, and make sure you got good seals on the pipe with the pipe connections, or use, you can actually do it without any connections, because you can get 250-foot lengths of 4-inch corrugated pipe. You don't have to worry about any seals. It works great. It works really, really good. When the water comes in, you already have the soil around it. It's going to be warmer than the outside air and ambient air in the greenhouse, and it has worked well. We've also installed pipe where high water tables, where there was pipes in the trenches. And so what you're going to need to do is kind of hold down the pipes, put some soil on it, kind of weigh it down, put enough soil on it. It kind of packs itself down because, it's wet, but, and just kind of hold it in place and then fill it up. So yes, solid, non-perforated, solid wall, non-perforated 4-inch drain pipe works great. I keep mentioning 4-inch drain pipe because there is, it's economical, and you have more surface area for the air to come in contact with the walls of the pipe than you have in 6-inch pipe. So you're going to get a better thermal transfer. You go to a smaller pipe or bigger pipe. Smaller pipe is more expensive. It's not as available. It possibly would work better, but I would not do that. It's not tested. See, okay, nice website. Solar Dew, thank you. LDSPrepperStore.com to get your preparedness items. Let's see, we stuck window AC in 2 houses in Ohio. So efficient, we don't notice a cost increase in electric. P.S. We switched to running all drinking water through a Berkey. Wish everyone who needs one has one. So in my preps, I actually have 2 window AC air conditioners, because I bought those in Texas, because if we were off grid and we needed to cool down the house to sleep and so forth, because we're so spoiled, can't sleep in a hot, humid night, then those are going to be much more efficient. So I think that's a great idea if you're in a hot or humid area. I still have them. They never came out of the boxes other than to test them. I always test everything. If it's electronics or electric, I test it. Make sure everything mechanically works too, and things that I buy. But much more efficient than trying to heat or cool the whole house. Okay, learn how to save seeds and replant some root vegetables for seed production. So depending on which seed bank you buy at LDSPrepperStore.com, one of them, or a couple of them, come with a seed saving book, which is like the Bible on seed saving, and it tells you how to save a carrot seed differently than you would save a tomato seed, and how to get seeds from onions and so forth, and the cycles. Some of them may take 2 seasons to get a seed. So something to keep in mind is that when you get the seed bank, use the seeds. Let me just tell you, use the seeds so you get the experience. But for every 1 tomato seed you plant, you're going to get thousands, tens of thousands of tomato seeds from the tomatoes. So you're not going to run out of seeds from your seed bank. You don't have to worry about how long do they last. I think we've used seeds that are more than 20 years old that we keep in a cool, dry area, dark, dry area, because it's warmth and moisture that causes the seed to germinate. So keep them cool and dry in sealed plastic containers, and you're good. Don't ever put oxygen absorbers in the seed, because that'll kill the seed, because the seed is a live organism. But use the seeds, plant them, harvest the seeds from your harvest, and you're good to go. Okay, so you can be eating a carrot and also get seeds from the carrot. You can be eating the tomatoes and get seeds. You can be eating the peas and get seeds. The peas that we plant are peas from the previous year. Okay, let's see. Want to make sure I'm not skipping any. I accidentally scrolled. A lot going on here. Let's see. Sounds like Kitty wants to come in. Could be prepared. Let's see. I already read those. Sorry, I kind of lost my seed. Almost every male carries millions of seeds. Yes, very true. Many seeds are weed seeds. Yes, many seeds are weed seeds. So make sure you have a good quality vegetable seed source, like the one that I have on my website. Composted maple leaves is the fastest food I use to feed my 1,000-pound pumpkins. Yes, so any leaves, when we were in Texas, we'd go around on the garbage day. My wife and I, we had a little Toyota Corolla, and we'd literally ride down the street and stuff our car full of everybody's bagged leaves that they had on the curb for the garbage men. And tell you what, those leaves decompose super fast. So I can see why composted maple leaves work good for your pumpkins, because they decompose so fast. We no longer have to do that. We no longer do that because we have all the nutrients we need and the micronutrients, and we have grown some giant pumpkins here, and it was one of my experience in growing pumpkins here in Idaho, and you can see some of those in my videos. But the trick to growing giant pumpkins is, first of all, you have to get a giant pumpkin seed, and then have one pumpkin per plant, and all the nutrients go to that one pumpkin. And you want to get rid of all the extra runners that are running there. And you can, in one season, you can be the county champion for pumpkins or tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever it is that you want to grow, by properly feeding it and then minimizing how much competition there is for that food. In other words, minimizing how much fruit you have on that plant. Okay, clay, good for pots, not so good for gardens. Yes. Beach sand to your clay. Yeah, any kind of sand. I like the concrete sand because it has different size particles in it, and I think that allows for aeration really well. Been adding sand to our clay. Yes, good. Remember, you don't have to bring in truckloads. Just fill in the cracks, and you'll be fine. Yeah, they're in Texas. Okay. Looks like Real Life is making, I make my own biochar and mix it with lime. Good. If that's what you want to do, that's excellent. Yeah, that takes time and effort, and it's a good experience. I would enjoy doing something like that, but I have a lot of things to do, so I just use the weekly feed, and that takes care of everything. But if you know how to make biochar and you have the materials to make the biochar, and remember, in order to make biochar, you're using up something else to make that chard. I don't live by the Great Salt Lake. Thanks to know. Okay. So I think it was Jacob Mittleider was in, I forget what country, but they had very, very high salt soil, and they had to flood it and drain it. And it was Russia or some other country. And they get rid of the salinity problem in the soil, then they were able to grow in it. So there's can be salinity problems, a lot of places. Dehydrated ocean water on tarps work well. Hundreds of pounds of mineral salts. Yeah, there's lots of ways. I mean, this is minerals right here. This is 100% minerals, 100% minerals here. So if you want to go and dehydrate salt water and collect minerals that way, that's good. I don't know how much molybdenum or manganese or copper or zinc or all the other iron and potassium and so forth. I don't know what the percentage is, so I don't know if it's a balanced diet. I mean, you could eat all kinds of food. I mean, you can eat Apple Jacks, and it's 100 has 100% of all the minerals and vitamins you need that day, but it's all not natural minerals. I don't know how well the body accepts those. But certainly, I love these comments about these other ways to get minerals, because it means you're thinking about something. If you want something that's very inexpensive, using this, I calculated using this and the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and the Epsom salts. I was growing tomatoes for 2 cents a pound, and I was selling those tomatoes for $3.99 a pound. So my cost was 2 cents a pound. I sold them for $3.99 a pound right here in Idaho. I put up a box, said fresh grown tomatoes, locally grown, vine ripened, and I sold out of tomatoes $4 a pound. People think that's crazy because you can buy them for 99 cents in the grocery store. Well, you take one bite of the tomato that's been fed properly, and it's a $4 tomato. Okay, own 4 acres. We get our power free to let solar farm to solar companies. Okay, middle of nowhere. You guys are chatting back here. I need 2 Berkey filters. Okay, so Granny, just go to ldsprepperstore.com and you can buy the Berkey filters. Just lowered the price on those Berkey filters, so that's a really good time. Everything is at the lowest price I can afford to have on there for you. Sometimes, let's see, it's just talking. Let's see, it's looking for questions there. Up in Tornado, so solar dues, I'm up near, okay, down in Columbia. Where do you live, David? I live in southeast Idaho, so over by Idaho Falls. How are you dealing with cooling in the summer? So we've actually we had a big, beautiful home, huge double air conditioners in Texas. 6 bedrooms, separate game rooms, separate movie rooms, separate office, separate family rooms, separate dining room, separate breakfast. It was huge. When we bought this house here, we had a goal to be self-sufficient. We bought a house, and one of the criteria was no air conditioning. So this house was built very well insulated, and during the summer, at night, we opened the windows and we let the evening cool air cool off the house, and then in the morning we close the windows. And we have fans. I installed fans in every room, but we rarely use the fans. It's just it works great for here. It can get every year it's in the hundreds, above 100 for a day or two, but we have not had to have an air conditioner. If we needed one, I just go out to the garage and grab one, but never needed to do that. Okay, again, thanks for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. Let's see, how much does the subwater affect the geothermal? I covered that. Let's see, did I scroll to here? Let's see. Not familiar with, okay, I top dress with composted manure. That's fine. The problem we've seen, and I remember shoveling manure for my dad for his garden, and it just seemed like to me that I just spent the rest of the summer weeding, and I don't know, when there's a lot of salt in manure, so just be careful if you're top dressing that that's less than mixing a bunch of fertilizer, manure into the soil. But soil is so hungry. Soil has nutrients in it. It's just not available to the plants. So, anything you do, leaves or even pine needles or manure or whatever, that's going to add nutrients to the soil so the plant can have the nutrients. But do I want to be putting manure in my soil and worrying about E. coli and so forth. No, I don't, and I don't need to, and I don't have to shovel it. If you've got to, I have neighbors that have horses, and they use the horse manure, and that's fine. And they have a garden plot, and sometimes you can see the vegetable plants between the weeds because it's a lot of weeding. I just don't think that's a good return on my investment. If that's the only thing I could have, I would probably make a compost tea rather than put the compost, the manure right on the plants. And that would be plan B or C. That's right in the Mittleider gardening course book. Okay, but you do what you need to do to grow food and vegetables. That's what you need to do. Is you need to get the skill. As long as you're growing food and vegetables, fruit and vegetables, you're good. I mean, if whatever you need to do, I just like something that's clean, inexpensive, available. Okay, let's see. Because of Tucson heat, I am trying insulation inside of my greenhouse. Yeah, in my greenhouse here in Idaho, I have insulation on the east, west, and north sides, all the way up to the ridge of my greenhouse. That's the only way that I'm able to grow year round. And so I imagine you're going to need to do the same kind of thing where you're protecting, trying to reduce the heat in Tucson. Question, I followed your channel ever since you lived in Texas. Thank you, Real News Channel. And I can't recall you ever discussing your survival library. Do you have any of Joel Scalz's books? What books do you recommend? I have all of Joe Scalz's books, actually. Another book I would highly recommend that's free. You can download it. Just do a search for LDS Preparedness Manual. It's you can buy it printed, or you can print it out yourself. It's going to be about that thick, and that is a great resource. I would definitely have that in the library. What, of course, how to grow food. I'm pretty much an expert on this process, but I am always referring. This is actually the book from my office. I keep this right next to my door, my chair. Primarily, so when people call, I say, "All right, what page?" Excuse me. What page are you on in the book? I can refer to them. I have books on self-defense. I have maybe I can bring some of my books out next Saturday and show you what I have. Hardcover books are always great because you don't need electricity to read them. All right. Perfect air DIY, 110 of $1,200. You can get that. Let's see. Okay, looks like someone's talking to somebody. Do people know of weeds for pain in case someone is hurt? Great question, Granny. If you go to my LDS Prepper store, my wife is a master certified herbalist. And one of the books that she has written is this one right here, The Backyard Herbalist First Aid Kit Herbs. So you can get this as a digital download. You order it and it's immediately available to you. You can get it as a physical product where we actually mail it to you, and you can get it where it's a digital download and a physical product. So you can get her first aid herbs, weeds. Here's culinary herbs and spices. She wrote this because she realized that a lot of the herbs and spices that we use have medicinal values. So she wrote a book on that. And this may be something that would answer your question, medicinal weeds. And this is just packed full of all the different plants in here, and here's several of them that she covers in the book. This is just the first section. And so if you're looking for plants that have medicinal advantages, you can pick up some or all of these books. She has a really big discount if you order all four of their reference manuals. This one is The Healer's Art, Making Herbs Remedies. This is once how to harvest them, how to make them in tinctures, how to make them into salves and, extract them and so forth. So hopefully that's a good reference for you. Jerry, David, thank you so much for your willingness to share your knowledge and helping people become self-reliant. I'm glad to help. Any questions? I'm not filtering any questions here. So any questions you have on preparedness, Solar Drew, I'm going to build a greenhouse. Awesome. My first one collapsed. Okay. Well, I saw a lot of those collapsed one. And if you're going to build a PVC greenhouse, then I would use 1.5 inch PVC. If you're going to use bend steel, the cyclone fence posts, those are strong enough to work, and those work great. But again, it's return on investment. Don't try to build a PVC greenhouse out of 1 inch PVC, because you're going to spend all that time, you're going to spend all that money, all that labor, and it's going to collapse on you. And then that's all going to be wasted. And so it's going to cost you twice as much than if you would have spent a little bit more money. So we all learn a collapsed greenhouse is not a failure. It's just something that you learned from. Okay, it'll get you, you know, that knowledge gets you to where you are now. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, we're into this just over about an hour. So I'm going to ask you to stop posting questions. I'm going to mark this last question here. And then I'll stop those questions, because I don't want this to take on, you know, all day. You guys have other things to do. All right. Okay. Nice real life grew wild in our yard as a child. Okay, good. Let's see. Prosecutor, how much time do you estimate for daily care in a Mittleider garden for a newbie like me? It's a great question. And that's covered in the book. So it's like going to college and getting a degree in anything. The initial learning curve is going to be higher, but once it's maintained, I go out every morning. I get some Swiss chard and some kale for the quail. I walk down the aisleway to see how things are going. I turn over some leaves to make sure things are. I don't have any insects growing or any fungus or anything like that growing under the leaves. That all takes me about 5 minutes a day. Once a week, I fertilize. So let's say that's it. So I will take the Mittleider weekly feed. I'll go down the row. A 30-foot row takes me, you know, less than probably 30 seconds to fertilize. And then I will hand water. So it takes a little bit longer, because I will hand water to make sure I get all the fertilizer off the leaves. So that's probably 30 minutes once a week. And then, so that's really, really easy. The time is in the harvesting and the food storage. So we try to grow what we can eat fresh, and which is the healthiest way to do it. So anywhere between, I mean, I enjoy being out there. So harvest is obviously the big time, but on a day-to-day basis, 5 to 10 minutes. You know, I've got 4 30-foot boxes in my greenhouse. That's it's 120 feet of growing, and I've got all kinds of things growing in there. When you are starting a new season, you're going to till the soil in the grow box, and you're going to mix the weekly feed and the pre-plant into that, or you're going to till the soil and build a soil bed with the dirt, and you're going to do the same thing. So it's the preparation and the harvesting, which are really the majority of the time. In between, it's literally 5-10 minutes a day. Once a week, I will go through the garden. I used to go through the garden and with the two-way hoe and weed. You know, the weeds are maybe this tall, and there's only a few of them, because I don't use manure. I don't bring in weed seeds through, animal feces. So that is a huge, I mean, as a kid, that was what we did. That was what gardening was weeding. As an adult who's interested in return on investment, I have a lot of things to do and people to help. I don't spend hardly any time weeding. But now that this is an established garden, I mean, I don't spend 5 minutes a week weeding at all. There's very, very little weeds in there. So very little time. It's going to take time to build it. It's going to take time to start it and to harvest, but in between time, very little time. We went to Tahiti for a week, 9 days, and we had our neighbors take care of our quail and our chickens. The garden is on automatic watering, and I only fertilize once a week, so they didn't have to do anything with the garden. Worked out great. It's the least amount of work for the highest return per square inch in a garden that I've ever seen is the Mittleider gardening method. Dave, you are creating something similar. Okay. Hey, let's see. Just kind of talking with yourselves. Okay. All right. So any problem with hard water issues with your crops? Oh, that's a good question. We have a lot of minerals in our water here, a lot of minerals. The nice thing about the Berkey is that the minerals come through, so I'm drinking that in my water in addition to the minerals I'm getting from my homegrown potatoes and everything else that we're growing here. So I am looking in, and I actually had contacted a company, and they said they were shipping, but you can get an the solution that I have is either getting some high and I don't have a particular brand. Maybe I can bring one up next week. Is you put some magnets on your water pipes, and that will align the minerals, because they have positive, negative charge. Align the minerals, and so it removes the hard water problem. And then there's another one that you can actually put an electrical charge. You wrap the pipe with some material, and it sends electrical current to the water, which does the same thing. And so that does increase the actual yield. It's non-mechanical. There's one that's electrical that produces a current, and then there's others that are magnets that aren't electrical. And so that will help a lot in minimizing the mineral deposits and helping the plants assimilate the food. It's been documented for decades and decades and decades of how effective it is to use a current or use magnets to align the minerals in the water, and increasing productivity in commercial and residential gardens, in just food production. Okay. So Granny says that they have issues with hard water in Utah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just chatting here. I'm looking for questions. So when you guys write a question, if you just write, question in front of it, actually get to it sooner. Are grow lights worth it for seed starts, or do overhead lights from the garage work as well? Really good question, Ed. Grow lights, 100%. You have to get grow lights. Garage lights are not going to work. Putting seeds in the window are not going to work. You're going to have super spindly, weak plants that you're going to basically just throw away. You're going to waste all the time that you spent in preparing the pots, putting the seeds in there, watering them, caring for them, having them in the windowsill for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. And then you're going to go down and you're going to buy plants because those seedlings are not healthy at all. So direct sunlight is the best light. We use grow lights here. I have several videos on the grow lights and the seedling process. Get you some good grow lights, as much light, as intense light as you can. And the more light you have on them, the more they will grow, the healthier they will grow, the stockier they will grow. And it will blow your mind on how fast and healthy they will grow. Something else is if you can keep them in a warm place, if you can actually do the seedlings in your house where you have a pretty consistent temperature, you'll get much healthier, faster growing plants than you will in the garage, even with the same grow lights. If you grew the same plants with the same grow lights in the garage and it's cold, and it's, you get it covered so it doesn't, freeze in there, and you get the same plants growing in the house, those plants in the house are going to grow faster, healthier, thicker because of the warmth. So it's light and warmth, and you know the 6 principles of plant growing. Okay, how do you deal with deer destroying your trees? Yeah, we certainly have that problem. I built an electric fence. It was a 8-foot electric fence that wasn't tall enough, so I made it a 9-foot electric fence, and that keeps the deer out. And in addition to that, I have a security camera out there. When it detects motion, it has a flashing red light and a siren, and that helps keep the deer out of our orchard. So 9-foot fence for us, and a flashing light took care of the problem. 9-foot electric fence. I lost 500 pounds of tomatoes in one evening from rodents eating the bottoms because of the drought last summer. My first time with such a problem. So my wife had mice in the strawberry plants grow box, and I think one thing that will help solve that problem is making sure that the soil is always watered well. So it's if you have dry soil, it's going to be a lot easier for those rodents to get in there. But yeah, make sure my soil in my boxes never gets dry. And I just make sure I'll just reach in there and I'll test it all the time. Make sure I've got it that it kind of clumps together, but I can't wring any water out. And so I water pretty much every day. I water every day. I do water every day. How much I water will determine on how fast the plant is growing, and you know the plant's water needs. I would appreciate anyone who has experience with both lighting choices answering the question for me. So Ed, just go to Amazon and look up grow lights, and I would recommend LED grow lights. I have been using the fluorescent tubes, but the LED grow lights are going to use a lot less electricity, and they have a really good light spectrum. So I would get that, and I would get as much light as you can afford to put over the plants. And I put my lights down and I just as close as I can to the plant without causing them to get burned from the heat. And I just, as the plant grows, I move the light. Okay. And you will have great success if you're using the seedling mix that is recommended in the book. That was the key. I mean, I have killed a lot of seedlings learning this, and real simple recipe here. I put 1 part perlite, 2 parts sand, and 4 parts sawdust. So if I've got 1 can of sawdust, I would put half of that can. I take 1 can of sawdust, a half a can of sand, and a 1/4 can of perlite. And that's my soil mix, mixing in the pre-plant mix and the weekly feed. Has worked 100%. Perfect drainage. It's just great. That's my secret recipe for planting seedlings. And use that with the grow lights. If you're in a cold area, drape some plastic over it. It's all in my YouTube videos, and you'll see that. Okay, yeah, you can use coyote urine, that's for sure. If you got coyotes and you got urine, that works to keep the deer away. It's the local, I can get only 13, 13, 13. I even have a hard time finding anything online where can I get 17, 17, 17. You know, when I was in Texas, I could only get 13, 13 to 13, 2. So I would just, you know, I mix it in, and that works. It just doesn't work as well as 19, 19, 19, which is the closest you can get to the actual recipe that Jacob Mittleider was using. But I used 13, 13, 13, and then I actually found 16, 16, 16. I had to drive about an hour away to a feed store, so I bought a lot of it at a time. So you just may need to fertilize more often, not more per serving, but just more often. Instead of maybe every 7 days, you may have to fertilize every 5 days, something like that. Just look at your plants, and your plants will tell you if they need more nutrients. So 13, 13, 13 is going to work. Even 11, 11, 11 works. Not great. Okay, you're going to spend more because you actually have less nutrients per bag. But if you could find 16, 16, 16 or something better, what I did here is I went to a fertilizer plant and I said, I want 19, 19, 19. They mixed it for me. I bought it at a commercial rate because I was buying 2,000 pounds. I contacted my neighbors that garden, and all that 2,000 pounds, besides what I kept for myself, which was several hundred pounds, was sold within like 20 minutes. So it didn't cost me, it cost me a third or a fourth of the price that would have cost me to buy 13, 13, 13 at Home Depot. And I got 19, 19, 19. I was just, it took more effort, but it was worth the return on my investment of time and money. They all got this great price, and I was able to help my neighbors, and we all were able to get high quality. Are you able to cool the geothermal greenhouse with only the blowers, or you still need a vent? Good question. That's something I've tested on multiple occasions. There is so much energy in a clear sunny day, even in winter. It'll get 120, 140. It's been 140 degrees in my greenhouse. I keep thermometers in there. I was gone one day and I killed all of my fruit trees in one day with 140 degree temperature. So that was not in summer. So there is not enough cold air coming out of the geothermal to cool the greenhouse, in my experience. So I opened the doors. On my new greenhouse, I roll up the sides. In my original greenhouse, where we don't have roll-up sides yet, because when I take off the plastic, I will put on roll-up sides. I'll modify the greenhouse. And we just make sure we run air through there. On the original greenhouse where we can't roll up the sides, I put shade cloth on the top. So there's just too much energy, too much heat on a clear sunny day to cool that greenhouse from the geothermal. So plan on having lots of air flow through that greenhouse. On the new greenhouse, in addition to the sides that roll up, I have louvers that are heat sensitive, and they will open up I set the temperature on the louvers, and it's uses hydraulics, and so when it warms up, it all automatically opens up, allows the air to go through the greenhouse, even if I don't have the sides rolled up. And I found that I need that between the winter and the spring, where I don't have the sides roll up because it's still freezing at night. So I can't roll the sides up because I'd kill all the plants. But these louvers that go on either end of my greenhouse, east and west, open up and help out quite a bit. Okay, so we are down to the last questions here. Real life, Granny says, real life lost 1,000 pounds of potatoes last year too. Not sure why. I'm new on land. I left for 3 days, came back. Everything was bad. Ouch. That's sorry to hear that. Okay. Let's see. I'm passing love to all of you in a time of such hatred. Happy here with people more interested in life instead of turning TV on to some popular video programming immoral values. Okay, love it. Thank you very much. Let's see. What sort of solar setup would one need to run only a chest freezer full of one cow? Crazy enough, I am immune compromised and hopefully only temporarily allergic to plants and eat 98% carnivore. That's a great question. So what I would do is on everything that plugs into a wall, it has a label on it, and it tells you how much electricity it uses. And so you can calculate that, and then you would need to calculate how much solar you can generate in a day, and then you'd need to calculate how many batteries you would need for that. Now, my son has done a lot of those calculations already. So if you go to ldsprepperstore.com, click on the portable solar generator, he has, I don't know, it's a dozen or more generators that he compares side by side. And these are portable solar, so if you ever need to move, you can just take them with you. But he also tells you how to determine how much solar you need and how much battery you need to run different appliances. So that's what I would recommend that you do, is just go there and use the calculator, that he has there, and take advantage of his really good pricing. Let's see. Okay, could you please tell what is remedy for salt effective soil? We are growing cucumbers in a greenhouse, but in winter the plants have started wilting. Also the water logging, what do you do? I'm not sure what you mean by water logging, if that means you get too much water. As far as salinity, it's just a matter of washing it out. I've had people buy Miracle Grow soil potting mix and then add weekly feed and pre-plant to that, and that was way too much fertilizer because it already had fertilizer in the soil. So, and their plants just totally started wilting. I'm just like, and I could tell all the moisture was being pulled out of the plants because of the salinity in the soil. So I said, just water it and water it and water and water it. So they just watered really heavily, and water was just pouring out, and they were able to remove the salinity from the soil. So it was a matter that they needed to water enough to get the soil. If that is a problem, then you can avoid that problem by using sand and sawdust or some other organic material and inorganic material, mixing it yourself, and then you starting clean. And that's what commercial people do. That's what I do here. I have bags of sawdust that I keep stored. I have piles of sand that I keep stored. And so when I'm ready to grow, I have fresh, clean, available, cheap material that I'm growing in. So I don't have to worry about the salinity problems, the bug problems, the weed seed problems, and so forth. I have a video on my YouTube channel called, I think it's the Perfect Garden Soil, for less than $1, I think is what it is. Okay, hope that answers your question. Thank you for your knowledge, David. Thank you very much, Mac. Anon says, is the LDS Church talking about the signs of the times, revelations, and the need for self-sufficiency in the USA? Because here in the UK, it appears business as usual. Yes, so the church is always talking about self-sufficiency. Matter of fact, they mentioned that in last October's conference, the importance that we be self-sufficient, that we receive our own inspiration, revelation on what we need to do for our family. Obviously, somebody who has allergic reactions to some foods is going to need a different food storage plan and preparation plan than my family. So, and they also mentioned just because we don't harp on it doesn't mean that it isn't important. I mean, you can only tell people so many times until they become, they just don't hear it. It's just white noise, or they're, being put into condemnation because they're not following the teachings of the leaders. So yes, short-term storage would be 90 days. Long-term storage would be a year. Better storage would be more than that. And then eat your food storage. Learn how to rotate it. Okay. Simplify batteries are rated at 10 years or 10,000 cycles at 80% depth of discharge. Yes. So when I looked at them the other day, there was 10,000 cycles at 100% depth, but you should really only go lithium ion 80%. Lead acid is only 50%. So you're getting a lot more cycles and a lot more energy for that price. What are the best veggies for beginners to start growing? Everybody always says radishes because they grow so fast, and the return on investment is very quick. But then you have to eat the radish. So if you don't like radishes, I wouldn't recommend that. The best vegetables to grow are whatever you're going to eat, because you need to learn how to grow what you're going to eat. So if you like cucumbers, then grow cucumbers. They're all very easy, all very easy to grow if you follow the Mittleider gardening course book. I ordered 8 cases of these books last week. It is the best gardening method I know of. And I have tried a lot of gardening methods. My wife and I have tried many gardening methods. There's lots of ways to grow food. The best return on investment that I have found is following the Mittleider gardening method and using the LDS Prepper premium micronutrient mix. I just started making that last year to make it available to everybody at the highest quality. So you can get both those online at ldsprepperstore.com. If you buy 8 packs of the micronutrient mix, then the whole order is free shipping. So just take advantage of that opportunity for any of the gardening course books, the micronutrients, the herb books. That's all free shipping if you order 8 of those packages. Thank you, love your channel. Thanks for this. Hopefully you will have more. Did you see the post from David Norman on Facebook? I did not. I'll take a look at that. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. All right. So we're an hour and 40 minutes or so. Thank you so much for taking your time here. I know a lot of people will be watching this later today and throughout the week. If you have other questions, please post those below. I'll get to them next week. I apologize for being late. That won't be the problem next week. You guys have a blessed week, a blessed day. Get prepared. Be healthy and wealthy and wise in all your preparations. And may God bless you and your family. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear.